Hello War of the Visions newbies, this is Suspect Amy, and I'm here to do a quick video about whether my friend invite campaign was a success or a failure, and some general thoughts on the state of the game. To start with, I made a bunch of newbie videos, and in each one I spammed my friend invite code so that we both get some sweet rewards. But the main reason I did this was to see how many new players stick with the game. The campaign has milestones, where it hands out more rewards the longer the new player stays with the game, so I was really curious to see the results. I know many of the friend invite codes were probably used up on alt accounts or something, but I think a good chunk of these have to be new players, right? Or at least returning players who are re-rolling after some time away. Out of the 100 invite codes that got used, one player stayed with the game long enough to do 5 guild battles. He actually stuck around long enough to do 10 guild battles, then quit the game. This is similar to the results that Mystidia Gaming reported on his channel a couple of years ago with his friend campaign. This means that in the last 2 years, the game hasn't really improved their ability to keep new players. This is a huge problem. Games that can't bring in new players are doomed to slowly die as the veterans get bored and leave. This is the path that War of the Visions has been on for a couple of years now. Why aren't new players staying with the game? The game upped its new player rewards to hand out a crapload of maxed out high-end heroes and vision cards, but new players still shrug and leave. You may think it's because it's too complex. I am not sure if that's entirely true. The game removed a bunch of unnecessary complexities since launch. Remember when you needed to build affinity with your weapons, espers, and teammates? Remember how ridiculous trust stones used to be? Sure, if you want to be really good in PvP, you need to go deep into the mechanics of resistances, penetrations, and status effects. But for the most part, players can clear a lot of the game's content by simply assigning their best gear to their best heroes, regardless of synergies, and do just fine. I think the problem is clearly the very high cost to pulling and leveling a new hero, and the fact that this cost is actually not worth the end result. A new player who joined during a collab has to grind for weeks to level up their new Cloud or A2 before they can see them making a difference in duels or guild battles. Then by the time they're finally done, this unit just isn't that great anymore. Players are left wondering why they even bothered. At this stage, we have all come to accept that this grindy, slow progression is just the kind of game War of the Visions is. I don't think this will ever change. If you like to collect units and slowly level them up over months but don't really care about much else, this is the perfect game for you. They release new heroes at a crazy pace so you can spend a very long time building your collection and be pretty happy. But if you want to be the best in PvP, you're looking at a very expensive future. Anyways, let me talk a bit about my side of things.
You lot are in for such a world of pain. Oh, it makes me jealous.
I see you're still getting whipped in Rundle.
Oof. Oh, Salir.
What?
What I would give for you to cast Toad on me, then gently squish me under your heel.
Personally, I love this game. I'm into part 3 of the story now, and it's excellent. I still want to get my selection quest units to level 140, and I really want to collect every weapon from the far plane. There are a ton of these. I actually came up with a fun idea on how to track my progress on weapon farming. I'll share it with you guys in a separate video. I'm actually sitting on dozens of these weapons waiting for a weapon upgrade event. I'm so lazy about taking time to upgrade my gear. During weapon upgrade events, you can usually just blindly max gear out with 0 seals or smithing hammers, but these events seem so infrequent. For spending, I buy the whale purchase bonus every week and have been doing this since I came back to the game in February. A lot of people are saying to stop spending on this game because it's close to ending service. I feel the opposite. I want to spend so I can experience as much as I can before the game goes away. Once it's gone, anything left on my bucket list kinda dies with it. Let's talk about end of service a bit. FFBE, the sister game to War of the Visions, just announced its ending service. The revenue it brought in for August was $650K. This is actually not bad. There are a ton of games way below this amount that have been alive and kicking for a long time, so I was a little surprised. Maybe Square Enix has a higher bar or costs, but let's just say War of the Visions needs to drop below $700K to be considered for end of service. Where was it in August? 1.3 million. That could have just been a special month with a big collab. Where was it in July? The same, 1.3 million. FFBE was pretty much abandoned by the global community. I think Japan made up 80% of the game's revenue. How does War of the Visions compare there? Here Japan only makes up 69% of War of the Visions revenue. This shows that the global community in War of the Visions is stronger. Not as strong as Japan, of course, but we shouldn't be worried about a Princess Connect scenario where only the global version of the game was axed. Another good indicator is how often you need to prune your friends list of inactive accounts. Shockingly, in Epic 7, I almost never see friends offline for more than a few days. In War of the Visions, it's a very different story. I need to remove a few people every week. War of the Visions gets a bit of a pass here because there's no mechanism to just sort by high-level active players and send them friend invites. Instead, you have to perform a piece of content together to make friends, so your friends end up being a real mixed bag. You can tell by the ranks here that the players that went inactive aren't long-term vets. Maybe they played the game for a few months at the most. If players like this rank 191 guy here started going inactive for a week, this would be a huge concern for me. Anyways, I think War of the Visions has a long way to go before end of service. Maybe a couple of years. They still drop new heroes and vision cards at a crazy rate, probably more than any other game I know. The story is littered with dozens of characters that have designs, 3D models, VAs, and art all ready to go. I expect most of these guys to appear on banners before things are wrapped up. As for new content, I'm not sure when new permanent content will arrive, if ever, but just recently they gave us Sunil's acquisition quest, and I thought that was a lot of fun. I think I attempted it like a dozen times trying to clear all of the stars and just couldn't quite make it happen. But I had a blast trying different heroes and gear strategies. For my planned content, I mentioned I was moving more into stories. I still like this idea even though it's my least popular content. I actually enjoyed Max reincarnating old heroes and trying them out against the meta. I can weave in their story scenes at the same time, so that satisfies my story craving. I'm saving up Mind Spheres for Oldoa right now, so stay tuned. Viewers have asked why I don't do reviews of new heroes. This is because I like to play with the unit first and talk about my experience. Just as an example, when Resnick came out, I read her skills and thought she was a must-have unit. At the time, my strongest heroes were Ibarra and Esther, and Resnick's kit looked like the perfect unit for pushing them to the next level. I went all in on pulling for her. After a couple of weeks of building her, I took her into PvP and realized pretty quickly that her AI was just hot garbage, doing some of the dumbest stuff, like buffing a teammate when a low HP enemy was right next to her. Most of the skills I was excited about I ended up having to turn off so that she would make even remotely intelligent decisions in battle. Like I said, it's so hard to pull and build units that it's impossible to get a true review of a unit out in a reasonable time. Even Ready Player Will, who's the top global hero reviewer, usually puts out his videos a week after the unit comes out. That's just the nature of the game. But this is an area I want to try and dabble in. Maybe I can do some quick previews. Anyways, I'm sure it's not entertaining to hear a mid-gamer ramble on about her thoughts on War of the Visions, so I'll end this here. That's all I have today. Thanks for watching my video. Bye, everyone.